Hey, what's up? Barnaby here. Another HelloLife moment just for you because you're interested in different causes of anxiety disorders. I know this because you've written into the website and want to get the counsel of Dr. Jeffrey Chamberlain, who's a family medicine specialist on this very specific question. So let me ask you, I think a lot of people think that stress is probably self-induced to some degree, but what are some of the more surprising causes of the stress that leads to anxiety disorders?
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of stress that people have in their everyday lives. And there's a concept of how our brain works that when we practice doing something, it gets better at doing it. And this is true. If I'm playing baseball, the more I swing the bat, the better I get. If I'm a ballerina, the more I do whatever positions, the better I get at it. If I do math, the more I do math, the better I get at it.
Sure.
But if I'm anxious, the more I'm anxious, actually, the better my brain gets at being anxious. And so if I'm anxious most of the time, that my brain's making new pathways to make it easier and easier to be anxious. And so whenever I'm in a situation, there's some stress going on, it's easier to fall into that anxiety track.
So intervention, self-diagnosis, and saying, I've got to back off from this, not just let it happen and say, well, this is just the way I react to a situation.
Exactly. So you have to train your mind to kind of get out of that anxiety track and get into a normal, better track of thinking. And there's things that can make you easier to fall into that track and to hype your body up some and get back into that track. And there's lots of problems that people can have that are made worse by things we do. Caffeine actually can make anxiety a lot worse. It hypes our body up, and so it gets it feeling like there's something going on, and so that can make anxiety a lot worse.
Yeah, I'm amazed at how I see everybody walking around with a giant cup of coffee all day long.
Yeah, so people are drinking a ton of coffee. Energy drinks, a lot of them have a bunch of caffeine in it. They have sugar in it. They have who knows what in it. That's kind of jolting the body and getting the body going, and that mimics the physiological effects of anxiety. So it makes it a lot easier to have problems with anxiety when you're drinking these things.
Wow, so it's almost like you're self-inducing a faux psychiatric condition.
Yeah.
You're just saying, this is the way I want my body to feel, my mind to behave. Here, give me another can of that.
Yeah.
Right.
Same thing with smoking cigarettes. When you smoke cigarettes, it causes a relaxing sensation right when you're smoking it. But the longer you smoke it, the more you need that nicotine just to stay normal. And so then if you don't have the nicotine, you actually have an anxiety reaction. And so getting off cigarettes and staying off of them in the long run drastically reduces anxiety. In the short run, a lot of times it feels like it's helping your anxiety because it does, but in the long run, being off the cigarettes can really reduce your baseline anxiety.
Well, that's good. And exercise. I know, they always say don't exercise a lot before you go to bed because you won't get a good night's sleep. So I guess a two-pronged thing right here. Can you, if you're just hyperactive, does that set the stage for, hey, this is my new normal, just being jacked up all the time?
Well, exercise actually is interesting. It actually helps reduce anxiety. And what it does is it gets the body going for a little bit, but then the body settles back down. And there's actually been studies where they've compared exercising on a daily basis to taking anxiety medications, and they're actually equivalent to each other. And so someone who runs a half an hour, 5 days a week, anxiety is going to be improved just as much as someone who takes the anxiety medication every single day. And so by doing physical activity, you can actually reduce your baseline anxiety.
Yeah, I might recommend too that because I run quite a bit, and it is run without earbuds, get away, just go zen, just drift through your, the mental, the labyrinth, and just not be hyper-stimulated while you're trying to relax.
Exactly. It's a good time to process things, to think about things while your body's physically being exerted. Your mind can actually relax.
And then sleep. If you're sleep deprived, I'm sure that puts you into a hyper-anxious state.
Exactly. There's actually good studies that show that people who are sleep deprived, it makes their anxiety a lot worse, and it's easier to become anxious when we're sleep deprived. So making sure that you're getting a good amount of sleep is really important. Trying to develop good, normal sleep habits is really important.
I tell you what, I learn something every time I sit down with you here for a HelloLife moment. Who would think, as we all think, the last thing I want to be is anxious, we're actually in large part setting the stage for being anxious as a possible lifelong condition just by our very drinks that we drink and the ways that we behave. So good information and a good watchword for everybody out there, and that is just chill it. Just kick back. Stop being so hyper. We're all going to get to the finish line one way or the other, right? Just another invaluable insight during this HelloLife.net moment.